Hello! This is going to be a video of what I learned during the animation tests that I conducted not too long ago. It's going to cover things like sort of how motion blurring works, as well as general frame by frame, as well as some other animation tips and tricks that I learned along the way. Hopefully that's helpful. I certainly think it is, and I'm going to try and have it as concise as possible. Number 1, we have general frame rate. I personally, in the majority of those tests, used anywhere from, I think, 10 to 15 frames per second, but even then I ended up cutting some of those in half, or not in half, I ended up multiplying them because I wanted the motion to be more drawn out, I guess. Dramatic might be the word, I'm not entirely sure. So there's a recent study, I think, where humans can see up to 20 frames per second, and in the speed paint that you are watching behind this, it's 15 frames per second, and even when you look at it now, you can kind of see the frames. So if you do 15 frames per second, it would be, 15 and lower is more so general sketches, or if you want it to be, I guess the word would be chunkier, then you can do lower frames, but 20 frames per second is generally pretty smooth. I don't really do 20 frames per second because I don't have the patience, but I am working to try and work towards getting that frame rate up so that it's smoother and more dramatic and nicer. And then we have generally mapping out your frames, or not your frames, your animation. I tend to do keyframes first, such as, start, middle, end, and then you start cutting those in half, and then half again. And you're just cutting halves and halves until something looks coherent, and then that's my sketch for the animation. And then I line it and make it look pretty. If that makes any sense at all, I will have an example up on the screen so that it hopefully makes sense. But I found that this helped a lot with me getting my thoughts out, where I wanted it to start, how I wanted it to end, and what I wanted in the middle in terms of motion and how long I wanted it to take. It's more like making an animatic and turning that into an animation, because for me, animatics are more so keyframes and nothing in between. Next we have coloring. Coloring was a pain, especially for the piece that you're watching me color right now, because her hair is streaks, and so her streaks need to be at least somewhat consistent. Use your onion skins to your advantage, because they're there for a reason. I'm using ClipStudio, and so if one color is lighter than the other, then the lighter color will be like a lighter green, I guess, if that makes any sense. And then the darker colors will be darker, and that helped me a lot when it comes down to it. You really need to know how to trace in order to animate, which is a bad thing for me to say, apparently, but you need to practice tracing. I will be honest, I'm an artist who started tracing, and I'm not proud of it, but it helps me a lot now that I'm learning how to animate and be more consistent with everything. And so when it comes down to streaks and coloring and certain placements, use different layers to your advantage and color different sections first so that you can see where everything is. You don't be afraid to use more layers or more animation folders. Even if it somewhat lags everything out when it's first rendering, it'll be worth it in the end to get the good part that you want. Personally, I used a lot of layers and folders, and then for shading, I did it in almost only one layer because I knew what I was doing. But I still use the onion skin to my advantage because streaks are a pain, and I could have definitely done a better job on a couple of those frames, but This is just practice. It's fine. It's fine. And then finally, out of what I learned, folder frames. This was taught to me by Mixie Pixie. Her channel is in the description below. Not her channel, her Twitter. I absolutely adore her. She has taught me quite a lot. But folder frames are the equivalent of, it's in the name. It's a folder that acts as your frame, so you can have so many layers while keeping it in the same layer. If that makes any sense at all, I will have an example. But it helps a lot for shading and coloring when you want to do different sections. And I don't think I did it in this speed paint, but I know I did it in the last one, where for coloring and certain aspects, and you could see me color coding on the screen. That's me organizing layers that are in the folder frames to know what line art is where, so that I can color consistently and know where everything is. And it was really helpful. It's really great. And don't be afraid to color code. Don't be afraid to have a sticky note off screen. Don't be afraid to do something that will only be visible to you, because anything that helps you work on your process is going to be worth it in the end, because then you have more, I guess, I was going to say brain power, but you have more of an idea of what you're doing, and you have a tighter grasp on your workflow, and you have more control over the situation, rather than finding a stray line from elsewhere and you're like, how did that get there? Why is my line art on the sketch layer, kind of thing. Man, I've done that so many times. But yeah, like, don't be afraid to step out of your boundaries and do certain things, because in the end, everything that helps you is going to help the art. And that's the point. Like ClipStudio and all your other tools and your other tools for different animation programs, they're there to help you. And so, whatever helps you, take advantage of it. Like the Onionskin, like the folder frames, like the, I don't know, the multiply functions that I don't use. Everything. They're at your disposal. They're at your disposal. Use them. I hope this video was helpful. I certainly learned a lot from the tests, and I encourage everyone to go and do their own tests, because every art and animation and artist is different. And so go do your own tests, learn your own style. If you learn anything, tell me about it in the comments, because I'm a sucker for learning more about animation, and I will sit and I will study every single frame of an animation if I had the time. But yeah, just be yourself, use the tools that you know, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone for the sake of learning, like I did, because, oh man, if I hadn't stepped out of my comfort zone, I guarantee you I would not be animating today, and animation is my life, my love, my life, me, it's me, and yeah, so don't be afraid, and just don't be afraid to look up tutorials. I've looked up so many tutorials. I've asked random streamers random questions, and I guarantee you a lot of them are bored of me now, or tired of me now. But it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.